So they ask you how long you have the problem. Yes. What else? They usually ask about your family, correct? Or you don't answer the question, is your parents answer the questions?
Parents would only pay attention to that like that.
Okay. But usually, if you ask your parents, they usually ask you uh, if anybody in your family have ever had this problem before, or if your family members are, uh, if anybody in the household is like that, and all of this. So they try to glean from your sickness of family, your history of your family, or your family medical history. So for persons who are diagnosed with cancer, so my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. Uh, the doctor said, have anybody in the family has ever had cancer before? And then when my grandmother died, they asked the question, they said, well, those of you who are alive and members of the family, sometimes these things are, you know, influenced based on family lines. So you have to be careful, do your regular checkup and all of these different stuff. So the medical doctors rely on family history in how to treat a patient and also how to give the patient advice. So history is very important, and you get that skill from studying history. Now, if you move from a medical doctor and you go to another profession, which if you want to become an attorney, most attorneys, if not all attorneys, are were students of history. They did history. And you don't have to do history to be a lawyer, all right? However, history helps you in studying law because when you're doing the research for law or you have a case to present before the judge, you need to go back and search very old documents, and you're going to search those documents and you're going to find out from those documents anybody in the past have ever had a case like this, and if so, what was the decision that was made by those judges before? And also, you have to do research on the different laws in the land. And if you find that your client break the law, you have to find a loophole in the argument to see how you can free your client. So all the professions, whether it's you want to be an attorney, a lawyer, uh, whether you want to be a dentist, whether you want to be a teacher, the persons in the world, or even a politician, if you want to be a politician, you need history because if you listen to political debates, they always say this happened back then and this happened then and it's our government that did this. So even politicians rely on history. And even if you want to be a very good business person, you need history also because history tell you how people operate because we know for sure that from our parents, way before our parents, they have been using Grace product. And so every time you go to the supermarket, you say last you say Grace, you say Heinz, you say, listen, my family has always used just Grace, and I'm not using anything else but Grace. You have anybody have that experience while shopping with their parents? Any of you have that experience
No, sir.
where you don't have that experience, you don't have this one item that there are several different variety out there, but your family use just that one item.
Yes,
And correct?
yes, sir. I don't know
Yes,
about this.
sir.
Yes, you have this one item that your family use, your group, and you see your family use it. And if you go somebody else's house and you see them use it, they say, ah, this tastes bad. I prefer this one because it's something that is generation upon generation. You have been using it. If we look at most of the food items that we use today, right? Most of the food items we use today, it's not just we start to use it. When parents used to use that brand, with parents used to use it and it passed down. So business people rely on history because what they do is that they, when they're advertising their product, they said Grace product or Grace sausage are best since 1984. Or we have been serving Jamaica since 1907 or something to that effect, right? And they put a lot of things on their label. So the best business persons are persons who rely on history. So you don't have to want to study history or to want to be a history teacher to study history, but history gives you a lot of skills, research skills, marketing skills, right? History help you to understand the economy, right? And all these different stuff because in history, while it is a discipline by itself, it covers almost every single topic. And so history is very important. So I am hoping that most of you will decide to do history in the, you don't have to do it up to Cape level, but you can do history up to CXC. And it will help you to better understand your environment, your school, your country, and it will give you a sense of identity, who you are, where your ancestors are from. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And if I see something else in life, and I'm going to use an example like bleaching. A lot of people bleach their skin because of a lack of identity. But when you study history, I've never seen somebody who study history that bleach the skin. You're going to have a sense of identity where you say that, listen, I am proud of my skin. If you look at most of the persons who are involved in different movements in the world, there are persons who study history. And so, even if you're a white person and you study about slavery, you're going to say that back then the generations enslaved other groups, but we need to stop this. And we should not have any form of racism. We should love everyone. But persons who don't study history tends to be racist. All right, go ahead for me, Bruce.
Sir, is the broad topic still the Cuban Revolution?
Yes, it is a Cuban Revolution.
Okay, sir.
So what we're going to do, so your subtopic is going to be the effects of the Cuban Revolution. Mrs. Brown Chambers told me that she did the causes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to look at the effects of the Cuban Revolution. So we know for sure that a revolution happened in Cuba, where they would have Fidel Castro and his uh, comrades, they would have overthrown which government? Who was ruling
Community
Ba-
before?
Batista.
Batista government.
The Batista government, yes. And so tell me some things about Batista's government, what it was like.
It was very cruel.
Yes.
They treated us
Sir, you're
poor.
talking about Fulgencio Batista, right?
Yes,
Okay, sir, he was a dictator, yeah.
he was a dictator. He was very wicked. Anybody oppressed him, what he did to them?
Sir, he executed them.
Yes, so he executed them. And also, you could not write anything in the newspaper against Batista. Could not. You have to, if you don't support the government, then you are going to be in serious problems. So it was, and then and not only did he was cruel to his opponent, but Fidel, not Fidel, but Batista, did he share up the resources in the country?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
So what he
It's
did?
very uneven. He gave the majority, which were the poor, they were not. They didn't have most of the wealth.
Very good, very good. And what else happened? Which country they had that controlled Cuba?
America.
United States of America.
The United States of America. So uh, they controlled Batista's government, and in fact, they support and they control. So there are two things taking place. They support them and they control them. And so because they control them, Batista was considered a what? It starts with P.
Who?
It starts with P.
P.
Yes. P as in Pat. P.
Sir, repeat the question, please.
So I asked, what was Batista considered? How was he considered? How was he viewed? What type of person he was viewed by the United States?
Sir, I'm not sure. Could you give another hint?
So when you watch the cartoons and somebody's usually have their hands moving, and your generation watch Sesame Street?
Well, yes, sir.
No, sir. Well,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we
yeah,
did.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes, we
yeah,
did.
yeah. We did. Okay, okay, Big Bird.
So if you watch Sesame Street, they have a lot of what in Sesame Street. There was a section where you have persons who talk behind a little decks and they move
Puppet.
the air
Puppet.
puppet. Yes, so Batista,
Oh, Batista was America's puppet.
yes, he was considered a puppet. Yes,
So, sir,
that's
that
what.
America took advantage of Batista, but did Batista even realize it?
Of course, because
And
the mere fact that he was a puppet is doing the wills of the United States. Anything the United States want, he's doing. And what was the United States interest in Cuba? Is it that they were interested in that Cuba was going to be a better place, or they had a different interest? What was their interest?
They wanted to take over Cuba's businesses.
So they took over Cuba's businesses. What else they took over?
Sir, the land?
The land, yes. So they own most of the land. They own a lot of the business. What else? When you are inside your house, you need to turn on the what? What you turn on inside your house? What you
the
use for
fans,
supply?
AC,
The light?
You use, yes, so you use light. So you pay. Which company controls the light?
JPS.
JPS. Oh,
JP.
sir, they
JPS.
didn't pay. They did pay taxes, but like they would pay half.
They pay. Sometimes they didn't pay any taxes. But
But
the point,
Batista get. Oh wait, sir, I raised this point in Tuesday's class, but Miss did say that it wasn't like America was manipulating Cuba or Batista. But sir, would it be a case that because they have so much power over Cuba, they could just decide not to pay any taxes and Batista wouldn't mind?
in fact, Batista, and you are correct. You are correct. Batista, Batista could not tell the United States to pay any tax
No.
because he's there because of the United States.
Oh, so sir, it's not manipulation then?
Who would do the manipulation? The US was,
America, yes,
yeah,
sir.
man. Yes,
That's
the
what I
United,
said in Tuesday's class, and Miss said no.
yes, it is the United States who is doing the manipulation.
Okay, sir.
It is the United States who is doing the manipulation. And so, with all of that taking place, not only did Cuba, they own the land and the businesses there, they own all the hotels, the Americans, they own the electricity company, they own the water company, they own the transportation. So all the buses that people used to travel, the train where people used to travel, the US owned everything, the beaches.
The US own
Cuba,
the people too, sir.
yes, they own the beaches. 'Cause on the beaches, they
No,
build
I said the
hotels.
people, not the beaches.
Huh?
The Cuban citizens were they owned by America?
Well, they weren't owned by them because if you are Cuban, especially if you're a black Cuban, you were not allowed to go or allowed to work in the US hotels or to go on the beach where the tourists go.
So, sir, who Miss said it was the rich Cubans that got opportunities to work in those places.
The, Most of the workers were American citizens, but some of the Cubans who worked there would have been the very white Cubans.
Oh, okay, sir.
All right. I remember how we see a lot of Cubans today. We just see mostly the colored Cubans, but there's a lot of black Cubans who were not allowed to go on the beaches. We call them Afro Cubans.
Noted.
All right. So America basically had control over everything. And if you own the hotels, you're making what?
Money,
Money,
like money.
Good. If you own all the sugar estates, you're making what?
more money,
If you own all the lands, you're making what?
money on top
More
of
money.
money.
So
If all the tourists,
America was
yes,
Cuba's economy depended on America.
very good, very good, yes.
Also, sir, so Cuba was only politically independent.
Cuba was
Some way.
in in name, they were only in name, they were politically independent, but in reality, they were not independent.
In what, sir? They were politically independent in name.
Name. So on the paper, they said that they were independent.
Oh, in fame.
Yes, but in reality, that
Yeah,
was not the case because,
America still controlled them, so they weren't independent.
yes,
And
the Americans control them because the Americans put on their constitution something that is called
that's amendment.
the Platt Amendment. And this law that they put on the constitution say that Cubans were not allowed to make any rules without the United States agreeing
Knowing.
to it. So you see that they control them.
So, sir, so Cuba was run by America or
It
not
was
Batista?
it was run by America through Batista.
And but and what was Batista getting from this again?
A lot of wealth.
That's it.
Yes, but if you're getting money from
Sir,
all of
but his
this,
people were suffering though, so what kind
the
of leader
people were
that?
suffering. Yes,
But
you don't
sir,
think that,
like I think America can still take back the wealth from Batista, so it probably wouldn't even last.
and not only that,
And it
any
basically doesn't belong to him, because America can just say, hey, remember that money I gave you? And just say, whoop, because they have that much power over Cuba
yes,
and
and a lot
Batista.
And
of
he's a puppet.
corruptions happen. Remember, he was the puppet, you know. Batista was America's puppet, and so
Oh, to
any
say like in a
So he
puppet
didn't
show,
really
like Batista wouldn't like earn
the
or earn
money.
as much as America, because America get everything.
yes, but he just get a portion, and if he do, and when he did anything wrong, America played that, turn a blind eye to it.
Sorry.
So when he was
Sir, he
abusing the
does really
people,
get. So sir, to me, it looks like he doesn't really get anything from it because his money is not his own. If he's a puppet to the U.S. or
no
was.
man, when you're a puppet, when you're a puppet, the US gets their money, but you also get a portion of the money.
Sir Pinocchio never get no money. I am Uncle the get
Exactly.
it.
No man, you get, because
Pinocchio got fame.
When Fidel Castro took over Cuba, when Fidel Castro took over Cuba, do you realize where Batista went in exile?
America or Mexico?
The United States.
Yeah, America. So sir, um, wow, America. Shoot, was it Castro that America decided that way? Yeah, because they said they didn't want to be close to a
Yes,
communist country.
very good. So wait now. So I like what we're doing now. So now we are going to look at one of the effects once Fidel Castro took over the country.
America
Remember, first we
decided
said
to
America
pay them
owned
any money.
all the,
Land,
Land and the
the
yes,
hotels,
the hotels and most of the,
land.
beaches and the land.
very good. So the first thing Fidel Castro is going to do is going to have some reform. When we talk about reform, what we talk about? Another name for reform is
Uh,
C. The city.
Constitution.
No, when we say reform,
Wait, yes, sir.
you know it,
Create,
man.
create.
No. CHA.
Characters, characteristics.
No. N.
It changes.
Very good. So a reform is a change. All right. So economic reforms, economic changes. So Fidel Castro is going to pass a law that is called the Agrarian Reform Act or the Agrarian Change Act, right? In 1959, that's the first thing that he's going to do. And so what he's going to do is that he's going to, in this law, remember most of the lands were owned by,
The United States.
good. So what Fidel, through this law, lands owned by Americans were seized. What do I mean that lands were seized?
Then take them back.
They took back their lands and they gave them no money, no compensation. Not only the lands were seized, but all the businesses. So if you establish a hotel in Cuba, they are going to take it back. It's now the Cuban government hotel. How you would feel as a United States if you invest a lot of money in Cuba and you build your hotel there and the government take away that hotel, how you would feel?
Upset.
Upset. So this law is going to cause the Americans to get upset, and that's one of the reasons why they do not like who?
So repeat what you said, please.
I said, because they are taking away all of these lands from the Americans and their properties, it is going to cause the Americans to be upset. And so, because Americans were upset, they didn't like who? Who they didn't like?
Cuban or Fidel Castro?
Fidel Castro, because
The
he was
government.
Government.
he was the president of Cuba.
Wouldn't it be called Prime Minister?
No, president. They're a republic, so they have a president. So Fidel Castro was the president of Cuba, and so his government, the first thing that they're going to do is to pass the Agrarian Reform Act, where they are going to take back all the lands that the Americans own and properties, not only lands, but properties, and they are going to take those lands. And what they are going to do is that they are going to redistribute the lands to landless Cubans. Explain what I just said here. What do I mean by redistribute?
They
Sir, to
sell
give land to the poor people.
Very good. So, yes, so what he's doing, Fidel Castro, through this law, is taking back the lands from Americans and properties, even some very hotels, big hotels, yes, nice, beautiful hotels in Cuba. He's going to take those hotels and he's going to allow Cubans who have no homes to live in those hotels. And who want land, they are going to get land to live. And so he's going to give them the land and they are not paying any money for the land. Go ahead from me, Bruce.
Sir, I have a question, but I'll wait till after Tara.
Oh,
All
sir,
right.
didn't Fidel Castro end up being a worse ruler than Batista?
No, 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 no. If you go to Cuba right now and you say anything bad about Fidel Castro, the people there would phew.
Alright. So sir, in my notes, he said Cubans no longer had the right to protest against the government. So if him do nothing wrong, them can't do nothing. Cuban newspapers, radio, and TV were shut down. Churches were closed, and property was taken over by the government. Castro's government gave less freedom to Cuban citizens. Sir.
Not true. There are issues there, but not true. Not when I went. That's not what I see when I went to Cuba.
Okay, sir.
Or maybe
Not
even the
true.
bad stuff that he did, the good stuff that he did made people not pay any mind to it. Because he did a
And
lot
then
of good for them.
also, that is true, but also remember America, they didn't like him, so they report a lot of bad things about him that they were not true. Yes, because when people don't like you, they say a lot of bad things about you and tell a lot of lies. And that's what the Americans did. Why? They told a lot of lies on Cuba on Fidel Castro because the Americans, sorry, because Fidel Castro took
Then take
away all of their,
land and the hotels and the stuff.
everything that
yes,
they owned in Cuba.
in Cuba, everything they own in Cuba, he took it back. And so I would be upset too. And anything, anywhere to make Fidel Castro look bad, I would do it and allow him to look bad in the world's eye. But not only that, as some very wealthy Cubans who owned a lot of lands too, because it's not only Americans who own the lands, but some very wealthy Cubans who own lands. He took the lands from those wealthy Cubans and he redistribute the lands some to those who didn't have. And so those wealthy Cubans, they didn't like that. So most of them left the country and went to the United States. So one of the first change that we're looking at is economic, the Agrarian Reform Act, where the Americans, where the Cubans or the Fidel Castro government took all the lands and properties that the Americans owned. And then on top of that, the Americans didn't used to pay any taxes or not much taxes. So what Fidel is going to do is that he's going to appoint an intervener or several interveners to monitor. So the interveners, they are the ones, because the Americans are upset, they are going to decide and said, listen, they took over back our lands and now they want us to pay taxes. We are not going to trade with Cuba. So the Americans decide that they are not going to trade with Cuba.
Also,
And
sir, that America trade embargo Cuba, and up to this,
yes,
I read that they are still trade embargo.
yes. And so from that time until now, 1959 until now, the United States, because they were upset that the Americans took the lands, didn't give them any money, took all their properties, didn't give them any money. They were very upset, so they put an embargo on Cuba and they said, listen, no American citizen should visit Cuba. No American business should trade with Cuba, right? And so, if remember that Cuba was America's largest trading partner. And if America stopped trade with you, you're going to need to trade with,
Other
you're going to need
countries?
other countries. But the Americans are saying to their other countries, that if you trade with Cuba, we are not going to trade with you too. So other countries were very fearful of trading with Cuba because they didn't want America to stop trade with them. But one country that was very brave said, we don't business what America wants to see. We are not concerned. That was the Soviet Union, which we call today Russia. And so Russia said, go ahead for me, Natalia.
Oh, so I was saying, wasn't Russia like not really well on good terms with the United States?
Yes, from World War II, they never had anything, any no good terms. They had a Cold War. So a Cold War is really Cold War is anybody ever hear somebody use the word? She give me a cold shoulder.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it is not physical,
It
where
was
you are, but it is the attitude and you do things to upset the person.
Wait, so sir, were Russia and America in malice?
A big malice, a Cold War, yes.
but Russia is the largest country in the world, though. So I don't
Sir, I
think
never
them
got to
trading with
ask my
Cuba is
question.
really bad. That's only a
Oh,
good
Anna,
thing.
ask a question.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sir, so when I was researching about Fidel Castro, like most of the sites were telling me that he's a bad person and he's strict and he's crazy and all of that. Sir, but why, when we're doing it in class, he doesn't seem like a bad person and he's actually trying to help Cuba?
Because most of the readings that is online are readings that what? Who you think write most of them?
Sir, people, but Sir,
People,
how,
but which people?
Sir,
sir,
not necessarily the Americans, sir. It could have been other people.
Mostly the
That did
Americans.
not.
Mostly the Americans are other people who they didn't like Cuba. So because America was very upset with the US, they put an embargo on Cuba. So Cuba now had to trade with Russia or the Soviet Union because then at the time they never used to call them Russia, they used to call themselves the Soviet Union. And so Russia decided that, listen, we are going to purchase all of Cuba's sugar. We are going to purchase everything from Cuba and we are going
Sir,
to
not
give
just
to
to rub in America's face or for their benefit.
very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Yes,
That
sir.
sounds
That's a
very
really good
petty.
thing. It
That's
sounds like they're trying to
crazy.
like, okay, then I'm
Sir,
going to
Like,
buy.
let's say, I
sir,
believe,
if you
rub it
look
in
at it, sir,
America's face.
Russia is such a big country and Cuba is so small, so they wouldn't really meet the demands that Russia would have. So to me, that
Mhm.
just seems
And
like
then just
something that they
agree.
do out of pettiness.
Yes. So they decide that they are going to buy the sugar, they're going to buy the cocoa, they're going to buy everything. And in exchange, Russia said, listen, we have a lot of things. We have more natural resources than the US. So we're going to send everything to the U to Cuba.
Oh,
Don't worry about anybody. In fact, Russia said, Cuba, you do not have to trade with anybody else in the world, just trade with us because we have millions of people. Look at our land mass. Your little drop of sugar, we can just send that to one town and you can make a lot of money from it. Sounds fair?
It sounds better than like them trading with the US though. That
sir,
sounds
is
like a better
America's, wait, is Russia's money worth, wait, Russia's money is worth more than America's, right? Back then.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Wait, sir, do you think it would have been worth more than America's money?
Hmm. Bec- uh, I can't. I have to look at it.
So,
And
sir,
I'm
they were able to build up their whole economy
yeah,
with
because
like
remember,
Have
Russia
been
alone.
alone.
ladies, that Russia and the United States, they're always at war with each other, Cold War. And so they really don't like each other. Even until today, they don't like each other. And so even though they don't like each other, they are going to always do things. It's like they are competing with each other for to be the best country in the world or the most powerful country in the world. That level of competition. But America is the one who has won the war, continue to win the war because America has more friends in the world. You understand?
Oh well, Russia is still good by themselves though, cause they're rich and they have a lot of stuff.
Yes,
So
but
sir. Russia seems they don't
sir,
really need to
Go
depend
ahead
on
for me,
so just
Natalia.
look up one Russian ruble equals to like 0.32 Cuban peso a while ago on the internet on Google.
Yes, the Cuban money doesn't value anything because in Cuba,
wait,
one US dollar is
is
one
six.
American dollar.
One
Wait, in
US
Cuba,
dollar is
one
one
US
American dollar, sir.
Yes,
what?
one US is
Dollar.
one
No,
America.
sir. US and
Yeah,
America is the
US and
same
American same
place.
thing.
Sorry, not US. One Cuban dollar. Sorry, one Cuban dollar is one American dollar.
Oh, so sir, their money is worth more than ours then.
Crazy.
Not really, actually.
Not really, but the Cubans said, listen, America, you cannot devalue our currency.
Oh,
One US dollar, if you bring one US dollar in Cuba, it is one Cuban pesos you are getting.
$1 again. So it no make
Yes,
sense. You should have just
No,
changed it for the
sir.
good. Wait, so you can still use American money in Cuba even though them Mexican them.
even though they have the restriction, The
But
Cubans still use the American money because when they come to Jamaica, what do you think they come to Jamaica and use?
not
The
pesos,
Cubans.
American money.
It's the American money they come here to use.
Oh
Oh,
Lord.
But sir, one Russian money in Jamaica like today, $1.91.
That's what it value today.
Yes, sir. I looked it up on Google.
Russian to
Okay.
Jamaican?
But,
Yeah, how much is one Russian ruble worth in Jamaica today?
but the
Oh,
Russian current, Russia don't use the European Union money, the EU.
oh,
Said they use
euros?
their own
Is
money.
it?
Not so they have their own currency. All that.
I will research it. I will research it and
They
get back
use
to you. But that
Russian
is a very good
ruble?
point. And so, what they're another policy that the Cuban government going to do is that they are going to nationalization. This is when a country owns all the companies. So this is when a nation or nationalize, when a nation owns every company. So Fidel Castro is going to nationalize Cuba. So so the US used to own the electricity company. Now that is going to be nationalized and it is going to be owned by
Cuba.
Cuba.
Cuba. The same thing with the telephone company, the same thing with the transportation company. So they are nationalizing
Hotels.
Cuba. And so the Americans are not going to like that. All right. Now, just a little quick, nice statistic. So the Cuban government, which was called the Revolutionary Government, on October the 24th, 1960, authorized the nationalization of remaining 166 US properties. So they took from America, so the Cubans took over 166 US properties, 28 insurance companies. So all the insurance companies that were owned by the Americans, with all the money in the insurance company, Cuba took that over. Chemical companies, 18 of them. Mining companies, 18. 15 machine importing companies, 11 hotels and bar, right? So almost every single thing in Cuba that were owned by the Americans, the Cuban government is taking that from them. And so as a result of that, America is going to be very upset. And to this day, they are still upset. Would you be still upset if you were in the
Oh, yeah, means there enough money that you know.
Yes, sir, 'cause that's a big loss.
it
Imagine the
is
I
money
said,
that you
yeah,
invested plus the money that you would have been making, and then pops, it disappeared just like that. No, sir, me
Sir,
that's still
imagine you
there.
have a whole country under your government and then like a couple dozen men just come in and take all your profits from you, sir. I would be upset.
very upset. So the Americans were very upset even until today. Not only that, all the banks that were in Cuba that were owned by the Americans, Cuba took it away with all the money in the banks.
Would you look
So,
at
that
sir,
that?
they
is
robbed
sad.
them?
You would consider it robbery?
Sir,
No,
if
sir,
their
Well,
I
money
would
is
not
that is
consider
but
robbery,
still
sir.
classified
They just took
robbery.
over what they
It
believe that was theirs,
belongs to
so it's
it,
not considered robbery.
sir,
It's
but
in
it's
their
US
not.
country.
That's not.
but
It's
but
in
USA
isn't
their
didn't give
country.
it to them. They
isn't
didn't give it
US
to
money
them.
in their bank and Cuba just took the whole bank with everything in it?
Um, he
But
nationalized it, so it's Cuba's bank now, so basically they would own it. So it's not robbing.
But the people then
but
them,
all right, another question. If you were in the case of if you were a rich Cuban
yeah, they didn't give
and
it to
you
America. Didn't give Cuba the money, so them gonna take it from.
all right, if you were a rich Cuban, how would you feel if they come and Say, for instance, you own some businesses and they took that business from you, the government. How would you
I will
feel?
feel
The
really bad. I will feel upset
exactly.
because that is mine, but at the same time,
No, that's
well,
what they did.
it's like,
They were not
Imagine
willing
you
to
have
give
all
them
of
the
your money
money,
in
then
the
just
bank.
take it. That's robbery.
Imagine if you have all your money in the bank and some man just come and say, "I'm going to nationalize this. It's mine now." Sir, I'd be vexed.
and then give it to everybody else in like the society.
All
I'll
right.
feel,
Now,
I'll
if
feel
you were
betrayed.
in the case, 1 second, ladies, if you were now in the case of the poor Cubans who you could not go to the hotels, and now the Cuban government give you a hotel, uh, a penthouse to live in, or the Cuban and you couldn't go on the beach and now you're able to go on the beach, how would you feel?
Good,
They're good, but that
live
don't mean
life.
it's right. It's good, but that don't mean it's right.
But
But would
when the
they really
Americans
know?
were there, wait, when the Americans were there and on their land and they could not, just think about it. If you were in Jamaica, if you're in Jamaica now, and if somebody should come in Jamaica and tell you that you can't work certain places and you can't go certain places, how would you feel in your own
Is that not,
country?
sir? Do not call on up on the country, sir. Sir, no,
How would
no.
you feel?
I will feel
So,
bad.
sir,
I will be upset.
it was less like robbery and more like an act of revenge for what they did.
Yes, I think so. But there are different views now. Do you understand why I asked you 3 questions, 3 different groups, and how each groups responded to Fidel action? Some people in the country were very grateful.
Others were very upset and mad at him because he took what they owned and then give it to other people that didn't
Yes,
have much, and they found that not right because not like it's really America's, because like it's like a family thing and they own it, so it's really upsetting.
very good, excellent. So that's where we are going to leave it today, ladies.
Sir,
So go ahead for me.
so I read that American, what they do to go to Cuba is that they file a ticket, like they book a ticket in Mexico or in another country to go to Cuba.
Yes, so they usually come to Jamaica and then take a plane from Jamaica to go to Cuba.
So why are we in the middle of this? I don't think that's right.
That's
No,
so
we are in the
funny.
middle of it because of our what?
I
The
don't know.
closest country to Cuba is,
Oh,
Oh,
Jamaica.
Our location.
yes, our location. It's not because we choose to be in the middle, but geographically because of our location. That's why we are in the Callaloo.
So, sir, they can't just travel directly.
there are
Some
some of them travel semi legally and like some legally and some are illegal.
legally. If you travel legally and you go on the plane, you have to get permission from the American government to go to Cuba.
That's so
Really?
funny. They're still
Yes, you
mad
can't
to
take
this
up yourself.
day.
And Cuba is one of the countries in the world that Amer- American citizens cannot go as they want. They have to go to the government to get a permission.
Um,
Sir, Germany, sir. In Spanish class, sir, I was like, Miss, I would have to go to Germany, and Miss was like, you can't go to Germany just any plane because then
oh,
Mhm.
it will come at Target. I was like, what?
sir, I
That is
remember like
true.
it wasn't a few years ago where they said like a plane went into Cuban waters or Cuban borders and they shut it down. Was that a
Yes.
US plane?
US.
They shut down the
What?
US
What?
plane.
Why would they do that? People
Because
Because
easily.
it crossed their waters, it entered their region.
an US plane cannot fly over Cuba.
What? What is this?
It's
That's
a
crazy.
Cold War.
They still vexed to this day.
Still vex.
Vex. And then vex them, vex them.
Them vex. Yes. Which lady sing that song? What's her name?
Roasted
Ranking
pumpkin.
pumpkin.
Right. All right, ladies, see you. No, next week we're off. So today's our last class. You're going to meet Miss Brown Chambers on Tuesday. And so when we return from the holiday, then we're going to look at a new topic. So hopefully Miss Brown Chambers can cover the other parts of the other effects. All right, ladies. It was
Yes, sir.
always good teaching this class. Fun class to teach.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I realize that the meeting is still being recorded and this is being posted. And like other people
Yes.
can
Yes.
see it.
Can go back and watch.
Uh, all
Ooh.
right, all right, ladies.
Bye, sir. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your
Bye, sir.
weekend.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
Thank,
sir.
thank you very much.